As a head of school, I really missed being connected with kids on a daily basis. It was a part of my being for my entire career, and then you become head of school, and the way that it's designed, it removes you from that. So I refused. All of us, in addition to our different roles that we have at Academy, are teachers and advisors, and it's a way of really connecting with kids and with parents, but also with our colleagues, having a deep and innate understanding of what it's like to be a classroom teacher every day.
When administrators are making the rules and the policies that kind of guide our school, it's so important that they connect with the student body, because that's the community, and that's where the ethos of the school is coming from. And I think when they understand who the people are and then what those people need, it's a lot easier for them to make the administrative decisions. And I believe a lot of that can be lost if the administrators are only talking to the adults within the school, or only people in very high power position.
When I interviewed at Academy, that was one of the pieces that I was so excited about, is that I could serve as an administrator and also still be a teacher, which is so important to me. I really feel like that's where I get the core of my joy when I'm in education, is truly being around the students. They are hilarious, they are so fun. I learn so much more from them each day than they could ever learn from me.
And I feel like having a foot in the classroom is really important. If I don't know my students, I can't teach them, and if I don't teach them, I can't know them. Being in the classroom is a way to connect us sort of to the fundamental humanity of why we're at school.
Well, I feel like when you teach something, you learn something too. So if I were to tutor somebody too, I would probably get something out of it as well. So I feel like she's getting something out of it as well. I feel like also she gets to be around children and teach.
I think being in the classroom on a regular basis helps me to both be empathetic towards the teachers and their experience working with our students, but also to understand the student experience. And so when there's a student who's struggling, whether I have them in class or not, I have a better understanding of what they're going through, having worked with students on a regular basis.
When I realized I had the division head as my teacher, I was like, okay, cool, how many classes do you have? And Ms. Payne said, you guys are my only one, and I love this class. That's pretty special to me.
And I think being a classroom teacher, living that schedule helps really inform conversations with students, with parents, with faculty, when they have feedback about it, when they have struggles with it. Being able to be a part of that experience on a day-to-day basis with students is meaningful, and really has helped us shape those discussions and our plan for moving forward.
You really have your blind spots illuminated, and I teach a semester course and realized that we didn't have in place when comments needed to be written for that specific, for those kinds of courses. And having gone through it, and then we talk about it, that we have a much more healthier, clearer path forward as to how to direct teachers when to write comments for really many of these new courses that we've just offered.
So I think at first, going into Ms. Puente's class, there was kind of it almost was a little nerve-wracking at first, because she was the head of school. I didn't really know her that well before. I knew a lot of kids had kind of had her as an advisor, knew her because of sports or something. So this was kind of my first time getting to know her really as a person. So the first day in class, I was a little nervous. But then as I began to know her, she kind of, the title of head of school began to fade away. And I'd see her on the path, and she was just, my teacher. And I was able to kind of have these conversations that I wouldn't really have felt comfortable having with the head of school.
For the division heads, they may not say this, but they have parts of their jobs that are about, enforcing rules or having to mete out consequences. And I think when kids see them in a much more multidimensional way, it helps them understand that even in the difficult times, these are people who care deeply, who are funny, who have great senses of humor, and who are warm and caring.
Sometimes people can say that a division head seems like, more of a discipline, keeping the rules in check and everything. But Ms. Payne as a teacher, I think it seems like it's a lot different, because she's always available to help students out, and like you can go to her and ask her questions.
What I can say is I really don't think there's a difference between the two Ms. Lipkowitzes. I think both in the classroom and when I've seen her outside of the classroom, she's also my senior project advisor, so I've worked with her kind of in that realm. So of the times I've seen her in action, she's always like led with kindness and a real interest in the people she's working with, and I think that carries through across disciplines and jobs.
When you have shared experiences other than making these large decisions, which we're constantly making decisions all day, but when we can just pause and say, this just happened in class, or this is what happened in assembly, or lunchtime, or what have you, that you have a team that is in the trench, and that generally what we end up talking about, either at the front end of meetings or at the end of meetings, that you would not get if you were simply in an office.
I think she valued our involvement in the school as much as her involvement in the school, and tried to keep us up to tabs, let our opinions matter. She would always ask us questions about what we liked or what we didn't like before making that decision herself. And so as much as I mentioned, as much as we were being taught by her, I think her connection to the student body allowed her to become a better head of school as she kind of developed greater connections to the student body, and wasn't making external decisions that were influenced only by her. We were able to kind of show her our opinions or our point of views, and she took that into consideration.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd want to be an administrator if it meant I couldn't be in the classroom with kids. It's easily the most fun that I have in a day is when I'm in the classroom with kids, reading books, and I do think it is really helpful for the work that I do with adults. It means you're on the front lines with kids, you're with the kids every day, and you can relate in sort of that everyday kind of in the trench kind of way.
I think it's so important that she is connecting with the students, because I think a lot of her decisions ultimately have a huge influence on the student body. So I think the fact that she's still connecting with the people she's influencing is very important, and like understanding what is it like to be a senior, what is it like to be a girl, what is it like to have an English class, are all things that I think it's so important that she's aware of, and she really makes an effort to know what this stage of life is like for us.